The Galactic Academy was a marvel of the universe, a sprawling institution floating in the quiet embrace of space. Its sleek corridors and vaulted chambers housed the best minds and brightest students from every corner of the galaxy. Here, knowledge wasn't just shared. It was celebrated, dissected, and expanded upon. It was in one such chamber, a lecture hall humming with anticipation, that Professor Zalthok prepared for his most popular annual lesson, the Interspecies Showcase. The professor, a tall, crystalline being with a voice like wind chimes, addressed the assembled students. Each represented a distinct world, a unique biome, and a singular way of life. The event was an opportunity to display the creatures they cherished, from symbiotic companions to harmless curiosities. It was always a day of wonder and a reminder of the vastness of life across the stars. Among the students, a particular group stood out, not for their numbers, but for the quiet reputation that followed them wherever they went. The humans, Deathworlders, survivors of Earth, a planet considered by many as the epitome of danger. Acidic oceans, extreme weather, and predators at every turn. Earth was a place where life fought for every inch, and humans had thrived against the odds. This reputation alone made them a topic of both fascination and unease among their peers. Evelyn Harrow, one of the human cadets, sat near the back of the hall, her posture relaxed but her expression sharp. She listened as the professor outlined the day's schedule, the faintest smirk playing on her lips. The room was abuzz with whispers as the alien students speculated about what the humans might bring. "They probably have something ridiculous," muttered Grakla, a reptilian student with shimmering scales. "They always do. Maybe another bizarre carnivore," replied Ilek, a mollusk-like being whose gelatinous body shimmered under the room's lights. "Honestly, why would anyone willingly coexist with creatures that could eat them?" Evelyn leaned toward her human companion, chuckling softly. "They always think we're crazy. Let's not disappoint them." One by one, the students presented their creatures. A being from the water-rich planet Gilleran unveiled a translucent, floating jellyfish that emitted soft, musical hums. Another from Zalnor introduced a tiny, fur-covered creature that could mimic colors and sounds. Polite applause followed each presentation, the aliens marveling at the beauty and docility of these creations. As Evelyn's turn approached, the room grew quieter. Her peers watched her, some with curiosity, others with trepidation. She rose with a confident stride, her boots clicking against the polished floor. "Everyone, meet Fener," she said simply as the doors slid open. The room froze as a massive wolf padded in beside her, its silver-gray fur rippling like storm clouds. Fener's piercing eyes scanned the room, his sheer presence commanding attention. He stood taller than some of the students, his movements fluid yet deliberate, like a predator assessing its surroundings. A low murmur swept through the hall, a mix of awe and outright fear. Professor Zalthok tilted his crystalline head. "Miss Harrow, this creature, it is from Earth?" "Yes, Professor," Evelyn replied, her tone calm. "Fener is a descendant of wolves, apex predators we humans have coexisted with for thousands of years. They're not just companions. They're family." The alien students exchanged glances, their reactions ranging from incredulity to outright alarm. Grakla hissed under his breath, his scales bristling. "A predator, of course." Ignoring the murmurs, Evelyn knelt beside Fener, resting a hand on his neck. "On Earth, survival isn't just about strength or speed. It's about trust and understanding. We learn to live with predators, not fear them. That's why he's here with me today." Fener sat obediently, his presence radiating both power and restraint. The aliens stared, their unease mingled with a reluctant curiosity. The room was no longer buzzing. It was silent, every being captivated by the quiet, unspoken bond between the human and her wolf. The presentation began, and the alien students showcased their creatures one by one. Each was a testament to the diversity of life across the galaxy. A student from Rylan unveiled a floating jellyfish-like organism that emitted soft, harmonious tones, its translucent body glowing faintly in the artificial light. Another student, from the serene low-gravity world of Laurel, brought a tiny, spherical creature that rolled around, changing its colors in response to nearby sounds. The room filled with polite claps and fascinated murmurs as these creatures displayed their unique traits. Then came a more dramatic display. An avian student from Tac Row revealed a six-winged bird with feathers that shimmered like liquid gold, producing a melody that resonated in the minds of those nearby. Even the humans, often difficult to impress, nodded in approval at its artistry. This was followed by a towering alien whose planet was covered in shadow. Their pet, a symbiotic fungal entity, pulsated with faint bioluminescent patterns as it curled around its host's arms. Each presentation highlighted peaceful, symbiotic relationships, creatures perfectly adapted to coexist with their environments. Finally, it was Evelyn's turn. She stood, her calm demeanor contrasting with the wave of unease that swept through the room. With a subtle command, Fener padded into view. The moment the massive wolf entered, the atmosphere shifted. Conversations stopped mid-sentence, and the tension was palpable. Fener's sharp eyes scanned the room, his deliberate steps echoing in the silent hall. "This is Fener," Evelyn began, her voice steady, though her words were met with wide eyes and stunned stares. "He's a wolf, a predator from Earth. His ancestors roamed our forests, hunting in packs, surviving the harshest conditions. But Fener is more than that. He's my companion, my partner, and my friend." The wolf halted beside her, sitting obediently but exuding an undeniable presence. His sheer size and the primal energy he carried seemed to fill the room. The students, many of whom came from worlds where prey creatures dominated, struggled to process what they were seeing. This is madness," blurted Gracklaw, his scales flaring in alarm. "You live alongside such a creature willingly? A predator this size?"
The tension in the room was still palpable when the containment alarms blared. A shrill, piercing sound echoed through the hall, accompanied by red warning lights flashing along the walls. Panic rippled through the room as a voice from the intercom announced, "Containment breach detected. Dangerous organism unrestrained. Please evacuate immediately." Before anyone could react further, chaos erupted. A creature, sleek and predatory, shot out from one of the containment pods near the back of the room. Its body was lean and serpentine, covered in chitinous armor that gleamed under the harsh lights. Its many legs moved in a blur, and its elongated head bore rows of needle-like teeth. The students scattered, some bolting toward the exits while others froze in fear. Ilek, trembling uncontrollably, cried out, "It's from Torgash Prime. Their predators are venomous. It's lethal." The creature hissed, coiling as its eyes darted around the room, searching for its next target. It moved unervingly fast, its sharp legs clicking on the floor as it closed in on a group of smaller, slower students. Evelyn didn't hesitate. "Fener, stay," she barked, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. The wolf immediately stood, his body rigid, muscles coiled as he watched the intruder. His sharp eyes never left the creature, but he remained still, awaiting her command. While the aliens were paralyzed with fear, Evelyn moved swiftly, pushing a few frozen students out of the creature's path. "Get behind me," she shouted, her tone brooking no argument. One of the students, Gracklaw, hissed but complied, still stunned by the sudden turn of events. The creature lunged at a fleeing student, its sharp legs aiming to pin its prey. Fener exploded into motion, a blur of gray fur and power. With a thunderous growl, he intercepted the predator mid-leap, his massive jaws snapping shut around one of its legs. The two creatures hit the ground with a crash, sliding across the floor as Fener wrestled the intruder. Gasps and cries of shock filled the room. Most of the aliens couldn't fathom what they were witnessing. A predator facing down another predator, and a human standing calmly in the midst of it all. "Fener, hold," Evelyn commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. The wolf snarled, keeping the creature pinned, his immense strength a stark contrast to the sharp, calculated control in his movements. The alien predator thrashed, its venomous tail whipping dangerously close to Evelyn. Without missing a beat, she grabbed a containment rod from a nearby console, activating the energy field at its tip. With precision born from years of training, she struck the creature's tail, forcing it to retract. "Professor!" Evelyn shouted toward Zalthak, who had been momentarily stunned. The containment override. "Now!" Snapped out of his daze, the crystalline professor hurried to the central console, his hands moving in practiced gestures. A few tense seconds later, the air around the alien predator shimmered, a containment field snapping into place. Trapped within the energy barrier, the creature screeched in frustration, its movements growing sluggish as the field suppressed its aggression. Evelyn whistled sharply, and Fener immediately released the predator, stepping back with a low growl. The wolf returned to her side, his fur bristling but his posture calm. She placed a steadying hand on his back, her breathing measured despite the adrenaline coursing through her. The silence that followed was almost deafening. The aliens stared, their expressions a mix of disbelief and awe. Grakla, still trembling, finally found his voice. That thing could have killed all of us. And your pet just saved you," Evelyn finished bluntly, her eyes sweeping across the room. "Fener isn't just a pet. He's a partner. On Earth, we learned to trust creatures like him because they trust us back. That trust is what keeps us alive." Professor Zalthak approached cautiously, his crystalline form shimmering in a way that suggested both curiosity and respect. "Miss Harrow, I believe today's lesson has extended beyond mere xenobiology. Your actions, and those of your companion, have demonstrated something far greater." Evelyn gave a faint smile, patting Fener's side. "It's what we do, Professor. Danger is part of life where we're from. You can either fear it, or face it head-on with those you trust." Fener sat beside her, his imposing form now radiating calm once more. The aliens, still shaken, began to see him differently. No longer just a predator, he was something far more remarkable, a protector. The aftermath of the containment breach left the hall in stunned silence. The predator from Torgash Prime had been safely contained, but the event had shaken everyone present. The alien students, who moments ago had viewed Fener with unease and suspicion, now regarded him with something entirely different: awe. As Professor Zalthak deactivated the last of the emergency protocols, he turned to address the room, his crystalline form flickering faintly. "Today's events were unexpected, but they've provided a remarkable opportunity for reflection. Humanity, once again, has proven to be unique in its approach to survival." Evelyn stood near the center of the room, her hand resting lightly on Fener's back. The wolf sat at her side, calm and composed, as though the life-threatening encounter moments ago had been nothing more than a routine exercise. Evelyn met the professor's gaze and gave a small nod. "Survival isn't just about strength," she said, her voice clear but measured. "It's about adaptation, understanding, and trust. On Earth, danger is part of every ecosystem. We didn't eliminate it. We learned to work with it, to respect it." Grakla, still visibly shaken, hissed quietly. "Respect? You mean to say you respect creatures that could kill you? How does that make sense?" Evelyn smiled faintly, her gaze shifting to Fener. "Because respect goes both ways. Fener doesn't follow me out of fear or domination. He trusts me because I've earned that trust. It's the same with humans and our environment. We don't survive by running from danger. We survive by understanding it." Ilek, whose gelatinous form still quivered slightly, spoke up. "But what you did commanding him like that, how can you be sure he won't turn on you?" Evelyn's expression softened. "Because he's more than a predator. He's part of our pack. Humans formed bonds with wolves thousands of years ago, turning wild animals into allies. That bond has only grown stronger. Fener doesn't see me as prey. He sees me as family." The room fell silent again, the weight of her words settling over the group. The alien students, many of whom came from worlds where such relationships were unthinkable, struggled to reconcile what they had just witnessed with their own understanding of life. Professor Zalthok's chime-like voice broke the silence. It is both fascinating and humbling. The very traits that many of us find alarming in humanity, their willingness to face danger, their bonds with powerful creatures, are the traits that allow them to thrive in environments we would deem uninhabitable. Today, Miss Harrow, you and your companion have provided a profound lesson. Evelyn gave a respectful nod. Thank you, Professor. But Fener deserves the credit. He acted on instinct, just like any predator. The difference is he acted to protect, not to harm. That's what makes him extraordinary.